The Galaxy Council gathered in panic when the warning arrived. An unidentified armada was moving toward Earth. Every sensor, every listening station across 100 systems confirmed it. The fleet was massive, a storm of energy signatures brighter than any seen before. In the great chamber of the Council, the air shimmered with tension as hundreds of alien species debated. Some demanded an immediate strike, others called for observation. They believed Earth would fall easily. Humanity was a young race, defiant and untested in true galactic war. Yet, as the fleet drew closer, no human ships responded. Earth remained silent. No distress calls, no panic, only quiet skies and still oceans. The calm was unnatural, almost deliberate. From orbiting satellites, alien scouts watched cities glow with golden lights at night, unaware that beneath the calm surface, entire networks were waking up. Deep under the Atlantic, vast metallic doors opened. Ancient defense systems activated, their lights piercing through dark water like stars. Old signals reached the moon, and a long-dormant satellite reconnected after decades of silence. On every screen across Earth, the same phrase appeared: Project Helios active. No one in the galaxy had ever heard of it, but those 3 words froze every alien observer in fear. In the Council's chamber, Supreme Overseer Takar stared at the readings. The human energy output had spiked beyond known limits. They are overloading their core, he hissed. They'll destroy themselves. But the human signal wasn't self-destructive. It was synchronization, power grids linked, orbital stations aligned, and the Earth's magnetic field began to pulse like a living heart. A soft blue halo surrounded the planet. For a moment, even the stars seemed dim beside it. Then, from the far side of the moon, a shadow moved. Slowly, deliberately, a ship emerged, vast, angular, and dark like the void itself. Its surface was made of black alloys that reflected no light, except for a faint golden glow along its edges. Alien scanners tried to lock onto it but failed. The data returned nothing. The ship broadcast a single transmission across all frequencies. It was human, calm, and confident. This is the Terran Starship Atlas, stand by. Inside the council chamber, silence reigned. No one had ever heard that kind of tone from a species facing destruction. The Atlas drifted into view of every galactic camera. Its engines were not fire or plasma. They were something else, something unknown, glowing like miniature suns. The alien fleet surrounding Earth opened fire. Thousands of plasma rounds, beams, and torpedoes cut through the void toward the blue planet. But before any could touch the atmosphere, each projectile vanished, swallowed by invisible distortion waves that rippled through space. The Council's analysts screamed that their data made no sense. They are bending the laws of light, one shouted. No, they are rewriting them, replied another. On Earth, millions of humans watched the skies unafraid. The oceans were calm, the cities quiet, yet everyone could feel it. The moment history shifted. The Atlas began to glow brighter, its hull reflecting sunlight until it looked like a second star. Then, one by one, the alien ships began to vanish from their formations, erased from sensors without any trace of attack. In the command room of the Council, Takar's voice trembled. What weapon are they using? No answer came. Every attempt to scan the Atlas failed. Some believed it was teleportation. Others thought it was time manipulation. But one thing was clear. The ship wasn't fighting back in the traditional sense. It was calculating. Every motion, every pulse was deliberate, as if it knew the enemy's every move before it happened. Then the message came again, broadcast across all frequencies, soft but powerful. You wanted war. You'll understand peace now. The alien admirals fell into silence. Their fleets were no longer under control. Navigation failed. Weapons refused to fire, systems turned off by unseen hands. Earth satellites emitted soft pulses of light as if guiding the chaos. One by one, the invading ships shut down completely, left adrift among the stars. From the edge of the solar system, the Council's deep space telescopes captured one final image, the Atlas hovering above Earth, bathed in golden sunlight, motionless and silent. Around it, the remains of the invading armada floated helplessly, powerless. Humanity had spoken without firing a shot. The message was clear, and the entire galaxy felt it deep within their bones. No one ever challenged Earth again, but the Council continued to whisper one haunting question. How long had humanity been preparing for this day? The Council remained in shock for hours after the transmission ended. The chamber, once alive with voices, now sat in silence. Holographic images of the Terran starship Atlas floated above the table, glowing faintly in golden light. The delegates tried to understand what had just happened. The invasion fleet, 400 warships strong, had been erased from existence. No wreckage, no survivors, only static where signals once came through. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy's greatest powers had no explanation. Commander Saren of the Voth Coalition slammed his claws against the table. "This is impossible. No species could wield energy like that," he shouted. But deep inside, even he knew that denial could not hide the truth. The humans had just done what no civilization in known history could do. They defended their home without firing a single conventional shot. Across the chamber, the high speaker's voice trembled. "Send our observation fleets. Every remaining sensor must focus on Earth. We need to know what they are hiding." The order was carried out within minutes. Hundreds of drones were dispatched, each cloaked and silent, approaching Earth's orbit. Yet as they drew near, every one of them blinked out of existence. No explosions, no debris, just gone. In their place, faint waves of data echoed back toward the Council like whispers. One technician decoded them, and his voice cracked as he read the translation aloud. "You are being observed too." The Council chamber froze. No one moved. Humanity wasn't just defending Earth. They were watching the Watchers. On Earth, life continued as if nothing had happened. Children played under the daylight skies and cities thrived. But in the deep command network beneath the Himalayas, the Terran Defense Corps monitored everything. Rows of holographic screens showed not only Earth's system, but entire sectors of space. The Atlas was not alone. Other ships, smaller, hidden in asteroid belts and dark nebulae, were now active. Earth had built more than one Guardian. The commander of the Atlas, Admiral Rhea Morgan, stood at the central deck window, staring at the stars. Her voice was calm, but her eyes carried decades of quiet preparation. "They thought we were defenseless," she said softly. "They never understood that peace was our greatest disguise." Her first officer nodded. "What are your orders, Admiral?" Rhea smiled faintly. "We wait. Let them come closer. Let them learn what happens when you underestimate humanity." At the edge of the solar system, a second alien armada was forming. This time it wasn't an invasion force. It was a reconnaissance fleet from the Council itself, led by the most advanced minds in the galaxy. Their goal wasn't conquest but understanding. They wanted to see what made Earth untouchable. As they approached Neptune's orbit, strange distortions began to appear. Space itself bent in silent waves, and every attempt to scan ahead returned distorted data. The fleet slowed, hesitant. Then in a burst of light, a human signal appeared on every frequency. "You stand at the edge of human space. Identify yourself or be erased." The alien commander froze. "They can't know we're here," he muttered. But as soon as he spoke, the voice responded as though reading his thoughts. "We know everything that enters our sky." A colossal shadow appeared through the distortion. Another Terran warship, even larger than the Atlas. Its hull shimmered in daylight, reflecting sunlight from Saturn's rings. Its name scrolled across its side, TSS Prometheus. The ship's engines burned white and silent. The alien commander ordered retreat, but before his fleet could turn, every control screen displayed the same human phrase: "Observe wisely." Back at the Council, reports came in slowly, carrying disbelief and fear. The Prometheus had not fired a single weapon, yet the entire alien reconnaissance fleet had been forced back. "Their technology violates physical law," whispered one scientist. "No," replied another. "They've simply rewritten it." The Council's paranoia grew. Some worlds called for diplomacy, others for preemptive war. But the High Speaker knew what that meant. "We cannot fight them," she said. "We must understand them before they decide to understand us." Meanwhile, Admiral Morgan stood aboard the Atlas, watching the stars fade to dawn. She whispered to herself, "We never wanted war. We only wanted to be left alone." But she knew the truth. Peace had ended the moment the first alien fleet entered Earth's sky. Humanity had been underestimated for too long. They had studied, prepared, and waited. The defense of Earth was never just about survival. It was a declaration, a message to the universe that humanity was no longer prey. As the Atlas glided silently through the darkness, another transmission left Earth, an encrypted message addressed to every world that had once doubted them. The content was simple, calm, and unmistakably human. To those who seek to control, observe, or destroy, remember the day you attacked Earth. Remember how the galaxy learned why you never challenge humanity. The message traveled faster than light, spreading across star systems, through military networks and into council archives. No one knew how it bypassed their defenses, but every species received it simultaneously. On countless worlds, civilians gathered in fear and awe as the message appeared in their skies as glowing symbols. Some called it a warning, others called it prophecy. And deep in the heart of the Milky Way, an ancient artificial intelligence, long dormant, awoke. It had been watching since the beginning of human expansion, and now it whispered into the void, "The Death Worlders have risen." The galaxy, for the first time in its long history, fell silent not from power, but from respect. Whispers of the event spread like fire across the stars. Every world, every outpost, and every colony that had ever heard of Earth now spoke its name with a new kind of fear. The once primitive species from a blue world had rewritten the balance of power in a single day. The Galactic Council met again in secret, their chamber dimly lit by the glow of holographic star maps. The High Speaker stood motionless at the center, her eyes fixed on the projection of Earth. Around her, delegates argued, their voices trembling with confusion. "We must understand how they did it," shouted one. "No," replied another. "We must find a way to contain them before they do it again." But deep down, they all knew the truth. Containment was no longer possible. Humanity had reached a point no one could predict or control. Across the solar system, silence ruled. Earth's skies were calm again, the oceans peaceful, but something in the air had changed. Every satellite hummed with new patterns. Signals flowed between them like veins of light. Humanity was no longer hiding its power. It was evolving openly. In orbit, the Terran starship Atlas stood like a guardian above the planet, reflecting sunlight off its armor. Beneath its hull, engineers worked in silence, analyzing alien frequencies intercepted during the attack. Commander Rhea Morgan watched as data filled the main screen. Billions of encrypted codes from every alien empire that had once spied on Earth. She smiled softly. "They wanted to watch us. Now we'll watch them." In the dark regions beyond Jupiter, something massive stirred. The TSS Prometheus, the second human warship, deployed a new kind of probe, small metallic spheres that vanished into the void, undetectable by sensors. These observers, as they were called, were designed not to fight, but to learn. Within hours they were everywhere, orbiting alien planets, floating near council stations, slipping unseen through wormhole gates. Humanity was collecting information on every civilization that had ever doubted them. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council dispatched a small diplomatic fleet toward Earth. The ships were unarmed, bearing symbols of peace and curiosity. The leader of this mission, Ambassador Kale of the Thraney Dominion, believed diplomacy was the only path left. "If we cannot overpower them," he said, "perhaps we can understand them." The journey took weeks. As they approached Earth's orbit, they expected to see defenses ready to fire, but instead, they were met by silence and beauty. The planet below shimmered with light, its clouds glowing gold in the sunrise. Then a voice filled their comms, soft yet firm. "This is Terran Command. Identify your intent." Kale replied quickly, his voice steady. "We come in peace. We seek knowledge." A pause followed, long enough to freeze every heartbeat aboard the alien vessels. Then the voice returned. "Permission granted. You may enter orbit, but understand, you are being watched." The alien ships descended carefully. When they entered Earth's upper atmosphere, they were greeted not by weapons, but by awe. The cities below were vast and luminous, powered by energy fields that bent light in soft waves. Skyscrapers rose like glass spires under clear skies. From orbit, Earth looked alive, a breathing machine of nature and technology. As Kale gazed at the view, he whispered, "They are not what we imagined." The delegation was escorted to a landing platform in the middle of the Pacific, a floating base surrounded by still waters. Human soldiers greeted them, calm and professional, wearing sleek silver armor that reflected sunlight. Their expressions were unreadable, but their discipline was unmistakable. Kale stepped forward and bowed slightly. "We thank you for accepting us," one of the human officers replied. "Humanity accepts dialogue with all who approach without hostility. You may speak to the Council of Earth." Hours later, Kale stood inside a grand chamber deep beneath the platform. At its center sat the Terran Council, not generals or politicians, but scientists, explorers, and engineers. Their leader, a calm woman with silver eyes, spoke first. "You came to learn why we cannot be challenged." Kyle nodded nervously. "Yes, the galaxy fears what it cannot understand." The woman smiled faintly. "Then understand this. We do not seek war. We seek balance. But every world that raised its weapons against us taught us to evolve. We did not become strong because we desired power. We became strong because we had no choice." Her words echoed through the chamber. Kyle's translator trembled slightly as it processed the message. "Then why erase the invading fleet?" he asked softly. The woman's expression turned cold. "Because mercy must sometimes wear armor." Kyle left Earth a changed being. As his ships departed orbit, he sent a message back to the Galactic Council. His voice carried both fear and awe. "Do not provoke them again. Humanity has no empire, yet they hold the power of one. They could destroy us all, but they choose not to." In the Council's chamber, the transmission played on repeat. The delegates sat in silence as Kale's final words echoed through the air. Some wanted to ignore the warning. Others wanted to prepare for what they now called the human age. But one truth was clear. The galaxy had crossed a line it could never return from. Humanity was no longer just a species. They were a force of nature. And far beyond the Council's reach, the Atlas and Prometheus sailed side by side through the void. Their lights shimmered against the stars as they scanned distant worlds, marking each one silently in their databases. Humanity wasn't expanding through conquest. They were expanding through understanding, quietly, patiently, with a purpose no one else could see. The galaxy had learned why you never challenge humanity. But the question that haunted every world now was far greater. What will humanity do next? The message from Ambassador Kale reached every world like thunder in a storm. Empires that once mocked Earth now trembled at the mention of its name. News networks across the stars replayed the footage of Earth's calm surface, its glowing skies, and the silent power of its ships. The phrase "you are being watched" had become legend, whispered in fear and admiration alike. Some called humanity the guardians of soul, others named them the Death Worlders. And among the younger species, humanity became a myth, a story told to warn children never to mistake kindness for weakness. In the Galactic Council chamber, silence reigned as Kale's final report ended. They could destroy us all, but they choose not to. The High Speaker sat motionless, her voice low and heavy. Then we must decide how to live in a galaxy where humans are no longer prey, but predators who choose peace. Around her, the delegates shifted uneasily. The Voth representative leaned forward. "Peace is a lie. They are building something. You've all seen the reports. More ships, more energy readings near their moon. They are preparing for something." The High Speaker's eyes narrowed. Then perhaps the galaxy should learn to prepare as well. Weeks later, deep in the void between stars, a massive structure began to appear. A ring larger than any known shipyard, orbiting a dying star. The Council had ordered the construction of Citadel 1, a fortress meant to watch humanity from afar. It was both an observation post and a warning system. Hundreds of alien engineers worked tirelessly, believing it would protect them if the humans ever expanded. But unknown to them, the humans already knew of it. On the bridge of the TSS Prometheus, Admiral Rhea Morgan stood in silence, watching holographic projections of the ring. "They're afraid," said her first officer. "Fear makes people build walls." Rhea nodded. "And walls remind us which direction to move." She turned toward the window, gazing at the stars. "Activate the shadow array. Let's see how far their paranoia reaches." Moments later, Thousands of small drones launched from Prometheus, each no larger than a human hand. They vanished into darkness, invisible to sensors. Within hours, they reached the construction zone. Every detail, every engine signature, every alien voice was transmitted back to Earth. The humans didn't interfere. They simply watched. They wanted to understand how far the galaxy would go to feel safe from them. Back on Earth, the Terran Council gathered in a meeting beneath the Himalayas. The room was filled with calm light, holographic stars reflecting across the glass table. "They're building a fortress," one scientist reported. "It will be operational in 8 months. The chairwoman of the council, Dr. Mira Halden, smiled faintly. "Good, let them. Fear is their teacher. Understanding will follow." Another officer frowned. "Should we respond?" Mira shook her head. "Not yet. Let them think we are watching. Because we are." Meanwhile, on the Citadel itself, the alien engineers worked day and night. One of them, a young technician named Laren, had begun to feel uneasy. Every system test returned strange data. Energy fluctuations occurred without cause, and shadows appeared on their sensors, brief, silent distortions that moved like something alive. Laren approached his supervisor nervously. "Sir, I think something's observing us." The older alien laughed. "Everyone's paranoid about the humans. Get back to work." But later that night, when Laren looked out through the viewport, he saw something he couldn't explain. A faint, golden shimmer passed across the stars, like sunlight moving through water. For a moment, it shaped itself into the outline of a massive ship, larger than anything he had ever seen. Then it vanished. Laren's heart pounded. "They're here," he whispered. "They've been here all along." When he reported it to the council, the reaction was chaos. Many dismissed it as malfunction, but others feared the worst. "If they can appear anywhere," one admiral said, "then no fortress will save us." Panic spread across the chamber. Yet far away aboard the Atlas, Admiral Rhea Morgan listened to their transmissions with quiet calm. "They still don't understand," she said. "We're not invading. We're observing how they react to fear." A month passed. The Citadel continued construction, but strange incidents increased. Tools vanished, lights flickered, and entire sections of the fortress lost gravity for seconds at a time. One day, a message appeared on every monitor across the station, in perfect galactic standard. "The more you fear us, the less you understand us." The message lasted only 3 seconds before disappearing, but its impact was devastating. The Council demanded answers, and for the first time they called upon humanity directly. A single communication link was established between the Citadel and Earth. The transmission connected after a tense pause, revealing the calm face of Dr. Mira Halden. The alien ambassador spoke at once. "You are tampering with our systems. You are threatening our sovereignty." Mira smiled gently. "We are not threatening you. We are reminding you that power without understanding destroys itself." Her tone was soft but unshakable. "You attacked Earth because you feared what you didn't know. Now you build walls for the same reason. When you're ready to learn instead of fear, we will answer." Then the signal cut off. Back on the Citadel, silence consumed the control room. Even the hum of machinery felt distant. The alien ambassadors stared at one another, speechless. Some wanted to fight, others wanted to surrender, but none dared to act. They had just realized what made humanity truly unstoppable. It wasn't their ships or their weapons or their technology. It was their patience. On the far edge of the galaxy, the Atlas and Prometheus moved together through the void, their lights fading into darkness. Rhea looked out at the endless stars. "They'll keep fearing us until they finally understand," she said quietly. Her officer turned to her. "And what happens then?" Rhea's expression softened. "Then the real story begins." Months passed, but the fear did not fade. Every empire in the galaxy had heard of the Citadel's humiliation. Every leader replayed the human transmission, the calm voice of Dr. Mira Halden saying, "When you're ready to learn instead of fear, we will answer." That sentence echoed across the stars, heavier than any weapon. The humans had not attacked, yet they controlled every conversation. The galaxy was now orbiting their silence. In the great cities of the Council worlds, entire populations began to question their leaders. If humans could end a war without firing a shot, they asked, what does that make us? Philosophers debated. Scientists doubted their own physics, and militaries began to tremble beneath the weight of their own ignorance. No one dared to provoke Earth again, but curiosity became a new kind of danger. Spies and explorers tried to infiltrate human space. None returned. The few transmissions they sent were fragments of sound, whispers of vast machines, glowing cities under the sea, and voices that seemed to speak directly into the mind. On Earth, humanity had changed as well. The defense fleet stood ready, but the true work was no longer military. It was exploration. Project Helios had evolved into something greater, Project Dawn. Its purpose was simple yet impossible: to extend human presence across the galaxy without expansion, to touch distant worlds without leaving a trace, to learn everything yet remain unseen. It was not conquest. It was awareness. Admiral Rhea Morgan stood aboard the Atlas, now orbiting Titan, Saturn's golden moon. Below her, waves of orange clouds reflected the sun's pale light. Around her, scientists worked silently, preparing the next phase of the Dawn project. "We've mapped half the galaxy," said her first officer. "Every system, every anomaly. We've seen what they've built," Rhea nodded, "and yet they still don't understand what we are." In the deep laboratories beneath the Himalayas, Dr. Mira Halden watched over a different kind of operation. Holographic projections of alien communications floated around her. One by one, they were decrypted, translated, and stored. "They still build weapons," her assistant noted. Mira's eyes softened. "Of course they do. Fear builds faster than trust." She paused, then added, "But soon they'll realize war has no place where knowledge reigns." Across the galaxy, the Citadel was fully operational. A vast ring glowing blue against the dying star it orbited. The Council claimed it was a defensive observation hub, but its secret purpose was clear: to locate the source of human power. Teams of scientists worked tirelessly, analyzing fragments of old human transmissions. Project Helios, they repeated endlessly, unable to decipher its meaning. Some believed it was an ancient weapon. Others thought it was a living AI controlling Earth's systems. The truth was stranger. Helios had never been a weapon. It was a conversation. One night cycle aboard the Citadel, technician Laren once again found himself alone at the viewport. He had been haunted since the shimmer he saw months ago. As he stared into the black, his reflection merged with the star. And then he saw it again. The same golden ripple moving silently across space. It wasn't a ship this time. It was something far larger. A faint outline of light stretching across the void, like a web connecting unseen points between stars. He gasped, realizing what it was: in a network. Humanity's reach was not bound to their ships. They had built an invisible infrastructure across the galaxy itself. Before he could alert anyone, the lights flickered, and a message appeared on every screen aboard the Citadel. 3 simple words glowed softly. "Do you see?" The command deck erupted in alarm. Systems overloaded, communications jammed. When the chaos cleared, the words had vanished, but everyone who saw them felt it. Not fear, but the strange weight of understanding. Humanity wasn't hiding. Humanity was everywhere. The Council called an emergency meeting that same cycle. The High Speaker's voice trembled as she addressed the assembly. "They are not building weapons. They are building awareness. They have connected the galaxy itself." A stunned silence followed. One of the younger delegates whispered, "Then they already know everything we say." The High Speaker nodded slowly. "Yes, every secret, every lie, every thought that travels through the void." Another delegate slammed a fist against the table. "Then we must cut communication. Destroy our networks." The High Speaker's eyes darkened. "It's too late. We are part of their network now." Back on Earth, Mira Halden stood on the roof of the Terran Council spire, gazing at the dawn breaking over the horizon. The golden light touched her face as she whispered to herself, "They're beginning to see." Admiral Rhea Morgan's voice came through her earpiece. "The Citadel knows," she said. Mira smiled faintly. "Good, let them. Understanding begins with fear." But as peace settled again, something new stirred. The human network, Project Dawn, had reached deeper into space than anyone had planned. Signals began to echo back from unknown regions. Data streams with no origin, voices with no source, artificial or alive, no one could tell. "Someone's responding to our network," a technician reported. "But it's not them." Mira's expression hardened. "Then who?" Across the galaxy in the void beyond known space, a colossal structure awakened, older than any civilization, predating the Council itself. Its sensors flickered to life, drawn by the signals humanity had sent. Deep within it, a voice whispered in an ancient language, one the Terran systems barely recognized. "At last," it said, "a mind that listens." On the Atlas, alarms blared as unidentified energy waves reached the solar system. Rhea stared at the readings, astonished. "This isn't an attack," she said. "It's an answer." Humanity had called out to the stars with knowledge, and now, something far older, something vast, was calling back. The galaxy had learned never to challenge humanity. But now, even humanity had found something greater to challenge: the unknown intelligence that had been waiting for them in the dark. The signal came from beyond the edge of every known star map. No Council probe had ever reached that far. No human craft had ever attempted it. Yet, as the data streamed across the Terran network, every scientist on Earth felt the same chill. It wasn't random. The signal wasn't a pattern of noise, and it was language. Rhythmic, structured, deliberate. The words were mathematical, precise, and old. Too old. Humanity had made first contact again, but not with something new. This was ancient. Dr. Mira Halden stood in the Terran command hall, the blue light from holographic displays painting her face pale. Rows of officers watched as the data repeated across screens. "It's been answering for 32 hours, one said quietly. "No known syntax matches. Not even the oldest pre-Council archives." Mira's voice was calm. "That's because it's older than them." The room fell silent. "Play the translation model," she ordered. The computer processed for minutes before a voice emerged. Not loud, not soft, but heavy, like something carved out of time itself. "You have awakened what was sleeping." The words reverberated through the air, and even through the static, the tone was unmistakable. It wasn't hostile. It was aware. Mira turned to her team. "Trace the origin." A technician hesitated. "Coordinates point to the void beyond Andromeda's edge. There's no light there. Nothing should exist." Across the solar system, the Atlas and Prometheus moved into position, aligning with deep space transmitters. Admiral Rhea Morgan stood at the window, the stars glimmering faintly against the hull. "They found us," her first officer said. "No," Rhea replied quietly. "We found them. We just didn't know what we were looking for." She activated the long-range scanners. The readings were faint, but there, a pulse massive and slow like the heartbeat of a sleeping star. "Transmit a reply," she ordered. Same frequency, same tone. "One message, we are listening." The response came instantly. Every human network, every orbital relay, every ship system flickered as the signal passed through. Lights dimmed, then brightened again. On Earth, children looked up as the skies shimmered with faint golden patterns, like waves in the atmosphere. The alien message repeated, louder this time. "You learned to listen." Few ever did. The Council, monitoring secretly, panicked. Across their worlds, alarms rang. "It's targeting human systems," cried one analyst. But nothing was being attacked. The signal wasn't breaking anything. It was connecting. The high speaker of the Council convened an emergency meeting. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "If this thing is speaking to the humans, we must know what it wants." A Voth admiral slammed his claws on the table. "It's a threat. It could destroy us all." But another delegate, older and calmer, leaned forward. "You don't understand. Humanity reached something none of us could. They touched the origin." The chamber fell silent. No one dared speak again. Back on Earth, Mira and her team decoded more fragments. The alien intelligence spoke in riddles, describing the universe as if it were alive, as if every particle had memory. "You were born of chaos," it said, "but you made order. You looked into the void and gave it meaning." Mira whispered to herself, "It knows us." Then the signal shifted again, this time transmitting images, impossible structures, stars arranged in spirals that pulsed like thought. The galaxy itself was being mapped in a way no mind could grasp. "It's showing us something," said one scientist. "No," Mira replied softly. "It's teaching." On the Atlas, Admiral Rhea Morgan watched as her ship's AI translated the visuals. "These are not stars," it said. "They are memories. It's showing where civilizations were born and where they ended." Entire clusters appeared and faded in seconds. Billions of years condensed into a living history. At the center of it all, a pattern repeated, a spiral of light identical to the Milky Way but older, dimmer, fractured. "That's not our galaxy," her officer whispered. "Then whose is it?" Rhea murmured. The answer came before anyone could ask again. "Ours was before yours," the voice said. "We were the first to build, the first to fall. You walk the same path, but you listen, and that makes you different." A strange silence filled every Terran ship. Humanity had always seen itself as the youngest of the great species. Fragile, reckless, emotional. But this being, this mind that had existed for eons, was speaking as if humanity were its reflection. The Council demanded communication. A joint message was sent to Earth, filled with fear disguised as diplomacy. "You have awakened a power none can control. If it spreads, we all die." Mira read it quietly, then smiled faintly. "They still think control is the goal." She turned to her team. "Send our reply. Tell them it's not power we've found. It's memory." As she spoke, the skies over Earth began to shift again. A faint ring of light appeared around the planet, visible even in daylight. It wasn't physical, it was energy, a holographic ripple pulsing from orbit. The alien voice spoke once more, its tone almost gentle now. "You remembered what others forgot. That creation begins not with fear, but with curiosity." The light spread across the solar system, dancing along the orbits of Mars, Jupiter, and beyond, marking each world with faint golden lines. For a moment, the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. On the Atlas, Rhea watched in awe. "We called out to the stars," she whispered. "And the stars answered." Her officer looked uncertain. "What happens now?" Rhea turned, her eyes bright in the golden glow. "Now we learn. Now we listen. Humanity has never feared the unknown. We've walked into it." Across the Council's worlds, panic gave way to quiet awe as their instruments picked up the same golden waves. The phenomenon was everywhere, gentle and unstoppable. For the first time in history, the galaxy was united in silence, watching, waiting, wondering what humanity had awakened. And far beyond the last star, within the ancient void, the colossal structure stirred once more. Its lights formed symbols in the dark, familiar ones. Letters in human script. One word appeared, vast enough to fill the black between galaxies. "Hello."